Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, TheRumpledOne, coming to you on Wednesday, June the 22nd. The year's 2022. Let's talk trading. Ways to use range, part 3 with Walmal. As always, these videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine and different from Walmal. Walmal, I've been talking to the traders about different ways to use range, so I thought maybe you could share how you use range when you're trading.
I use range probably in a couple ways, but and I use it both for reasons for entry, and I also use it for reasons to exit. In terms of, I'll talk about exits first, just because it's easier to go and talk about that, and some of those concepts will actually flow into entry anyway. But when you're in a trade, let's say you're now in a trade and you're up, I don't know, 10 pips, 15 pips. I know statistically that most of the time that the pound dollar for an hour during the times that I trade is around 25 pips. Sometimes you get a really nice one, we get a 30 or even a 40, but for the most part, you get about 25 pips. And so if I'm up and I've already transversed that much, I start thinking out. Even if it's still going in my direction, I'll just start thinking, okay, it's time to go and start watching this real closely, start seeing if I see signs that it's going to go in reverse on me and go in the other direction. And the reason why I do that is I just know statistically it's not usually going to go much further than that. Why take the chance? Sure, it could go another 10 pips. I mean, last week, we had days where we had hours that were 50 or 60 pips. But that's just such a highly unusual thing to occur. And I don't want my trading based on highly unusual. I want my trading based on stable and usual, because in the long run, that's what wins the race. If you just slow and steady, just keep it going, just slow and steady, and pick them up, pick them up, pick them up. So that's how I use it, on my exits. The nice thing about that is that on one of the things that you developed, Kira, was the smart ranges, where it actually gives you the percentages right on that indicator that what the percentage is. So, for instance, right now, with my broker for this hour, I'm showing a range of 15 pips, and it's telling me that's in the 19th percentile.
How many bars are you checking? Because on my screen, I'm checking 100 bars.
I'm checking 100 bars.
Okay.
And so, that tells me, hey, over the last 100 bars, which is, basically a week, but not even a week, but just short of a week. But it's basically telling me, hey, 19%, we still got room for this hour to go and expand, and so that would tell me if I not to necessarily use that as a reason to get out at 15 pips. But if you look at, let's say, the previous hour, where it had 22 pips, it was all the way up to 44% of the time. So that tells me, at 22 pips, we're pretty close to where it starts to like to turn around. And if you go down to 26 pips, which was like 4 candles ago, that's up to 57%. And so it just gives me a really good indication of when I should be getting out. And don't ask me what the rule is, because there isn't a rule. It really is a feeling more than anything else. Yeah, I'm using that as a sort of like a guidepost to help me out a little bit, but it's really more of it gives me a little bit of a clue as to how far more it may want to go on a normal occurring day.
Yeah. Hey. Walmart. Let me interrupt you here for a second, because these percentages are percentiles. It's not a percent. So in other words, 15 means it's in the 15 percentile. So out of 100, it's in spot 15, meaning there's 85 bigger and 14 smaller in range.
Right, exactly. So that clues you in even more because of being in a percentile. You're in the top of the class, or you're in the middle of the class or the bottom of the class, and that helps you out tremendously. So that's how I use it. In terms of getting out, and that's probably where I use it the most. I also use it though for entries. And I'm about to go and get out here of a trade. I was in a trade before we got onto this video. Let me just punch it out while I got the ability to do that. Did that. Sorry about that interruption there. But for entries, what I'll do is I'll go and look at it and say, hey, here's an entry. Okay, and we've now moved 30 pips for the hour. And I don't know if that's really a good place to go. That's probably not a good, safe bet to go and take. So it'll prevent me from going in. It's never going to go and cause me to go in, but it may prevent me from going in. Because if I'm in a situation where I'm sitting there and I look at my percentile, and if I'm sitting there and I'm in the 45th or the 50th or the 60th percentile, that means that, not too many times in the past has it gone beyond this. Why should I take that chance? I'll just wait for a better trade. Maybe set the rest of the hour out and just wait for the next hour. Wait for the next trade. There's not a gun against my head saying, you need to get out and get out now. There's nothing that says that. So why go and take that chance, when there's a good possibility that it's not going to work out, But that's just how I do things, and that's how I look at ranges, and that's what I use it for more than anything else.
Yeah. Hey, notice last hour we were in that launch pad at 40. We just, we broke through the 60. So there's that launch pad 40 to 60 again.
Yep, it works. I don't know why, but it just seems to, like to exit that range there between 40 and 50. It loves to come out of that, and every day it makes 2, 3, 4 attempts to get out of it, and finally it breaks. And when it breaks it good, so because if you look at the previous hour, it broke at 1, 2. I'm talking about I'm not talking about actual candles, I'm talking about groups of candles, but 1, 2, 3 groups that it broke it, and then finally on the fourth, when it finally broke it, that's when it really took off.
Are you looking at M1 or M5?
M1. But it just, you're right, Tiro, it doesn't like staying down there at 40.
Yeah.
It'll go down.
Yeah, you were talking about how you look at range to say, you know what, maybe if I go long here, it's somewhere past the 50 percentile. I'm pushing my luck. How about using it for reversing back towards the open of the candle of the H1, that is.
Yeah, I've used that in conjunction with, obviously with a return bar, but I'm very, very cautious when I do it. And what I mean by that is, again, a range never causes me to enter a trade. Range goes and stops me from going into a trade, or it goes and causes me to exit a trade. So, but I will, for instance, let's say we get news, okay, and let's say it shoots up 30, 40 pips, and so we're up 40 pips, let's say, for the hour. And now you're starting to see that it's starting to show signs that, hey, it's going to start to come back. I will go and say that, yeah, it's up pretty significant. It's up 40 pips. It's going to come towards the middle a little bit. So I'll use it from that perspective. If, let's say, the news only shot it up 5, 10, 15 pips, I'm not necessarily going to go and do it, because I don't, a retracement offer a 10 or 15 pip move. It's usually not that much. If my range is sitting there and it's sitting at, 30 pips, let's say, that's not an unusual, range for an hour. I mean, it's unusual in the sense that most of them at 25, but hitting 30 is not, something like 40, 50, or 60. So I'll think about it from that perspective.
Right. By the way, did you just take that short?
No, I did not.
Okay. I was wondering if you were talking and trading.
No, I'm trying this new thing that you came up with, and so I don't want to, excuse me, try talking and trading that at the same time. Although I was in a trade from that prior to getting on the call. So
right now, One thing about range, we've been talking pretty much about the hourly range. Do you look at daily, weekly, monthly, or anything else? 5 minute?
Yeah, I absolutely look at the daily range. I especially look at the daily range when I first get up to start trading. And the reason why I do that is, okay, if I walk in, okay, and when I turn on my computer, everybody else got to figure this out on their own, when it makes sense for them. But when I turn on my computer and start looking at the daily range, if that daily range is more than 60 pips, I know we got a day that's going to probably be a high pip range day. If it's below that, then I know that it's probably going to be a low pip day. And if it's in between, then it's, probably going to be an average day. Now, knowing that and saying that, it also breaks that at least once a week, that rule of thumb for me. So I look at it from that perspective. I also look at it from the perspective of, okay, let's say, like for instance, right now on my broker, I've got 120 pips for the day, okay? And I also know that for the day, it's a red day, and, it's not red by very much, but it's red. But, looking at this from this perspective right now, it's a red day. But if you look at when I first started trading, it was a really red day. So it's now gone and turned around. So my bias now would be, more towards a long, just because of the fact that we got such a huge wick on it. The range right now is 120 pips, which puts it in the 50th percentile. And I'm looking out. I only look out on the daily range. I only look out 20 days. I know people look out, 100 or even 1,000 days out. I don't look at that perspective. I'm looking at it because I'm doing so much short-term trading. I keep that number small because I care about what's happened basically within the last month. What happened 2 months ago, 3 months ago, a year ago, based on the way I trade, doesn't matter, or it matters less. Let's put it that way. Whereas on the other hand, if I was doing swing trading, I'd want that number to be up in 1,000 candles or something, because what happened, a year or 2 years ago would matter. Again, so that's what I'm saying. Everybody's got to figure this out for themselves based on the way and style of their trading.
Right. So, but what about weekly, monthly?
I really don't look at it. I'm just being honest. I don't look at it. I mean, I'll go and look at the monthly chart, a couple times a week, but my trading is so short term that I'm trading with those guys called noise. I'm making my pips on the noise. And it, what happened for the month doesn't really matter that much, because let's say we have a month that's up tremendously and it's strong, and I see a short trade, because I'm in and out usually so fast, and I'm trading the noise in that. I'm in and out before the effects of the bias of the month really take hold. So for instance, let's say the month is up. Actually, let's go be more. Let's go use the real life example. The month is down right now. Okay, let's say I go and take a long trade. Well, I may be in that trade. I'll be in and out of that trade before the bias of that being such a down month even has any effect on me. So it doesn't really matter to me that much. Now, if, for instance, I know, Tiro, you love to go and talk about, trading the yen, and what if I would have gone short at, 1.35 or something like that? Look at how much money I could have made, or, that type of thing. Well, if I was looking at trading in that fashion, then yeah, I'd definitely be looking at the month. But for me, it's not within, the, I guess if you're driving a car, it's not, through my windshield. And I don't think it's even going to go and blindside me.
Yeah, speaking about driving, it's pretty funny because we're getting ready to cross the finish line because the fastest 15 minutes in trading is just about over. So, fellow traders, there's Walmal's take on range. Let us know if you have any questions about range, so we can get those questions answered, because it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is the Rumpled One, over and out.